surface. He took the steering wheel out and he had to draw himself out, very much reminiscent of what Martin Brundle did back. The safety car is out and there, very well. 2 contact. Was that with one of the 2 Williams? Was that with Jacques Villeneuve's car? Well, what was it? We saw a blue car. It could have been a number of any different. Well, Luca Badoer is fine. He's walking away. And the safety car is out. Great to see Luca uninjured from a very unpleasant moment. But was that the fault of one driver or 2 drivers just misreading what occurred? We have to wait and see the replay of it. That car you see upside down. Safety car is out. The first time we've seen it in use this year. And in the meantime, the airline and the second of the 244s, Andrea Montermini. It's good to see Luca Badoer walk away. We thought the right leg, he must have got a whack on it when the car went over. So we look at it down at the center chicane. So clearly under braking, somebody was coming through and somebody wasn't watching. Whichever way around, we wait to have a look and see again. That moment, a scary moment indeed, and not having more attention at that point for Luca Badoer, again concerning.
Well, there's Damon Hill still blasting around because the safety car hasn't actually picked him up yet. He's still behind 2 other cars. Pedro Diniz in the Ligier is directly ahead of him, and he's probably wondering exactly what's going on. The safety car sign will be being given from the start-finish line, and so they obviously haven't quite managed to pick up the leader as yet. There's Eddie Irvine. He's down in 9th position, and behind him, the other 40 still running. That's Andrea Montermini.
I think those skid marks on the right of your screen are those that were of Luca Badoer and the other car that was in contact. We only got a very brief glimpse in that replay. Let's have a look again and see. So difficult to tell.
Almost impossible to see who was actually involved in that.
There it is. It's Pedro Diniz.
Pedro Diniz in the Ligier, just rolling past. And I wonder if there was another car involved as well. It was very difficult to tell. It almost looked as though there might have been 3 cars, but that may well have been the other car that had already gone through the corner. So whatever, Luca Badoer out of the race in dramatic fashion. Into the pits comes Rubens Barrichello, rather. Barrichello making his first pit stop. And as you can see, Mika Salo is in. He is still running Salo, even though he's a long, long way back after those earlier problems.
So Olivier Panis also in there. The safety car has finally picked up the race leader, Damon Hill, and really running at a very, very low speed indeed. This is one of the areas where drivers are not comfortable because the pace of a safety car, that little Renault Clio was being driven flat out, it still will be running too slow. Panis leaves the pits. And the reason I say running too slow is the tire temperature drops quite dramatically. Not with the ambient temperature not being particularly high this afternoon. Everybody will want to see the safety car get off the track as quickly as possible. And for Michael Schumacher and Jean Alesi and Gerhard Berger, this has been an absolute dream. For Damon Hill, it's probably his worst nightmare.
Yes, the worst situation possible for Damon, who'd built up a healthy advantage over Michael Schumacher, pushing hard, and now he's got to do it all over again.
But also, this has an effect on the team strategy. Damon Hill had pulled out 6 seconds advantage over Michael Schumacher. Now with the team strategy having been pre-planned and the first part of that put into action, this safety car will alter, probably quite significantly, what the teams had hoped to do.
Well, we'll wait and see. It's certainly been clear that Hill has the advantage here this afternoon in terms of performance. So he'll just be gathering his thoughts, getting himself together. He knows how difficult it is to overtake around here anyway. And with the car advantage that he seems to be enjoying today, he's driving, looks as though he's driving within himself, so he should be okay.
Yeah, when that car leaves the circuit, though, Schumacher, Alesi and Berger are going to be all over him like a rash. And remember, the tires will be cooler and a little dirtier.
Damon Hill just following that safety car around, leading the Argentine Grand Prix after 29 of the 72 laps.
Tokyo Katayama, his race, and sad for Tyrrell Yamaha, both their cars now out, and that's on the 30th lap, and we're still a few laps short of half distance. We've got to go to 36 before we get to half distance, and we've been running in total time just over 47 minutes.
That's right, it's a long race anyway, this one, 1 hour and 53 minutes last year, so they'll be getting close to the 2-hour mark if this safety car runs for very long. You could see a moment ago, though, they were clearing Luca Badoer's car out of the way, so it shouldn't be too much longer before we get this race underway again. Just confirmation of the positions at the moment. Hill, Schumacher and Alesi, with Berger 4th, Villeneuve 5th, and Coulthard in 6th position. After them come Heinz-Harald Frentzen in the Sauber Ford, Eddie Irvine in the 2nd Ferrari, and Jos Verstappen still in there in the footwork Haas. Rubens Barrichello in 10th place after that stop. Martin Brundle is 11th, but he has not yet stopped, and Pedro Lamy is 12th in the same situation. Johnny Herbert is then in 13th.
Oh, what is this? One of the two 44s. I beg your pardon, that's got to be one of the two Ligiers. Now, what has gone on? Pedro Diniz runs out of the car. What has happened? Now, that just suddenly happened off camera. That car came around. There you see it coming up into Courvon. The car, is that the result of... Let's look and see. There must have been a refuel, or maybe the damage that occurred after that contact waves. Or was that an engine blow-up, or what is it? Suddenly, all sorts of... Oh, look at that. That's a flash fire. I suspect more from the hydraulics and the oil than petrol. But one thing is that car lit up unbelievably. Pedro Diniz quickly out of that car, runs to safety. But what a frightening moment to be engulfed. And at the same point, well, cars coming through, we wonder whether the safety car was about to come in. But in fact, fortunately, that incident occurred, and sufficient time. Now, what a race we've seen. An incident with Luca Badoer, his car getting clipped. We think Pedro Diniz may well have been involved in that incident. And suddenly Pedro Diniz's car itself explodes, but there was something, whether it was fuel, or that was a fuel line, or whether that coupling on the refueling. Some of the teams are a little bit concerned about those bleed valves and the fuel valves that, under certain circumstances, that is fuel, that's raw fuel coming out.
He had been into the pits just before that, John. He actually had just come out after being refueled there.
Well, some of the team have complained, discussed that the refueling, the dry brake, the actual valve that you push to make the fuel go in, it can get wedged. Something could get into it and it could not actually close. And that clearly was fuel. Seeing it the second time, that was raw fuel coming out from the back of Pedro Diniz's car. And once it eventually reached down into the exhaust, forget about oil burning, that was raw fuel. And that is a moment that will have to be looked at very carefully indeed. Technical delegate for the FIA, Charlie Whiting, will want to look very closely indeed as to see what did cause that. But to me, that was a case of that dry brake coupling that, and the fuel hose attaches to the chassis. The valve itself that should seal did not seal, and raw fuel poured out under acceleration. Gravity, of course, would tend to make it do that. So, great concern. Now, that's something that needs an immediate attention before these cars. Look, again, fuel. Now, I'm surprised even the car, look at the amount of fuel that suddenly explodes. Pedro Diniz doesn't know what's going on. All he knows is in the fireball. I'm out, but one hopes that they take it off to the medical centre for now the fuel on the track.
Just incredible. I've never seen anything like that. And initially, as you say, I thought that was smoke coming out of the back of the car, but what it was fuel vapor and actual fuel blasting out behind it.
Indeed it is. So that cause of that fire was raw fuel just literally being siphoned out by the vacuum. In fact, that valve not being closed, or certainly something enabling so much fuel to escape.
Welcome back to Argentina in a race of true drama and incident. Damon Hill is still race leader, and he still sits behind the safety car. He's on lap number 31. Everybody else left in the race queuing up behind him, weaving around trying to keep some temperature in the tyres. And we've just seen two remarkable incidents. First, a rollover for Luca Badoer, who climbed unhurt from the underneath of his 44, and then the remarkable sight of the Ligier Mugen Honda of Pedro Diniz bursting into flames after he'd been into the pits to refuel, the car off into the gravel, and thankfully Pedro able to leap out very quickly.
Yeah, it's a very, very frightening moment indeed. I can't remember seeing a car catch fire in that form. We've seen pit stop fires. We had it last year with Eddie Irvine, and of course with Jos Verstappen back in 1994. But to see a car actually catch fire, but when you see it again in replay, the amount of fuel that was getting siphoned out of that fuel tank, clearly once it reached through the crack, well, not the cracks, but the actual joints and the bodywork got onto the red-hot exhaust. So flammable, so volatile, and to be engulfed in a fireball like that,